Hello there everyone, welcome to my series of I spend my sanity in Spyro Beast so you don't have to guide video. In this video, I will only go over the strategies on fighting the enemies in each cycle of Spyro Beast. If you're looking for specific characters used in Spyro Beast runs, this video is not for you, as there are existing videos that helps you with team building. Now with the disclaimers out of the way, let's take a look at this cycle's Spyro Beast enemies. The first chamber is probably the hardest one to complete, since it features all the new Inazuma enemies other than Ruin Sentinels and the Sword. Second half has two Pyro Fatui agents with Mirror Maiden and an Electro Season Mage thrown in with the mix. Second chamber is featuring some new enemies as well, like the Electro Lava Chill and Electro Abyss Mage. The second half has a boss enemy called Magu Kenki. Third chamber is pretty straightforward, just your usual robots to disarm and you're well on your way to victory. Before you go into chamber 1, make sure to have Pyro or Cryo characters on both sides since there will be Electro Aura shields that reduces damage dealt to enemies. I brought Child here to enable Xiangling to vaporize all the enemies. Currently this is the strongest team that I have for bursting down enemies, so bring your strongest poison for this cycle of Spyro Beast. Another thing to note in Node Floor 12 is the high tide and low tide mechanics. Basically, you get a shit ton of energy during high tide and absolutely no energy during low tide. Even if you are able to generate elemental particles, you won't be able to gain any energy. My advice against this mechanic is to use all your elemental skills during high tide and use up all your elemental bursts during low tide. For the first wave of enemies in the first half, I usually go for the Kairagi on the left. The Kairagi mentioned will be indicated by its purple color theme. All you have to do against the purple Kairagi is to just flinch it, usually done by using elemental skill that has high poise break or simply by charge attacking. After that, hug towards the wall from where the Kairagi you just hit and everyone will come to you. Before you burst them down, make sure to dodge their EI slash properly as they are very well telegraphed attacks and direct them towards the wall. Once all the Kairagis are dead from screaming Sapitonare way too much times, two Nobishis will spawn near the Electro Shield generator. Their attacks are also very well telegraphed, but if you happen to get caught up in one of their attacks, they can kill you in one hit. So be careful with that. Between these two Nobishis, if one of them dies, the other one will heal itself and become immune to crowd control like freeze and flinches. Their movements are too random to be manipulated, so do your best to balance out your damage between each one so they both get killed at the same time. Next up in the second half, I couldn't be bothered to bring a dedicated healer because I have to consolidate for the lack of damage. So this has forced me to use as many off-field enablers or DPS characters to make up for the time limit. Now back to second half. There will be two Pyro Fatui agents spawning in front of you. Honestly speaking, they don't require much strategy to defeat them, so just Unga Bunga your way until the second wave of enemy spawn. Once they are defeated, a Mirror Maiden will spawn where the two Pyro Fatui agents spawned prior. You have a short window to sneak in some heavy attacks to stunlock her, but you won't be able to do that for long. Once they get their Electro Aura shield or the moment the Mirror Maiden starts to teleport, she will become an immovable boulder and there's nothing you can do to lift her super thick thighs from the ground. While you're dealing damage against the Mirror Maiden, the Electro Season Mage will slowly walk towards you. But don't worry, the Electro Season Mage have a lower HP pool compared to the Mirror Maiden, so it's advisable that you focus fire on the Mirror Maiden and let the Electro Season Mage to take collateral damage. It might seem like it's not much of a DPS check just because I clear it with spare seconds. This is because my first half team DPS is way higher than any of the other team I can form. Let's go on to Chamber 2. Chamber 2 has some really straightforward enemies, just some Mitachurs and Abyss Mage. Even though it looks simple, but just to save a bit more time, I attack the Mitachur with a Pyro Circle, and I'll show you why later. In this half of Chamber 2, the Electro Lava Cho will spawn in front of the arena. The reason for this is because the Lava Cho has a bigger health pool compared to the Abyss Mage. While this is true, the Abyss Mage will also always teleport in front of you, so the Abyss Mage will end up taking collateral damage anyways. Onto the second half where there is only a single enemy, and that's a Magu Kenki. When you start the second half, the Magu Kenki will take its sweet time to stand up. And what's worse is that during its animation, he is completely immune to all forms of damage. So it's basically spitting in your face saying, hippity hoppity, your 10 seconds of clear time is my property. But don't worry, I forgot to mention earlier to not be afraid of using up your elemental burst before the next chamber, since you get a lot of energy from just attacking. Now that Magu Kenki is leeching off your 10 seconds, take this 10-second time to recharge your energy for your team, so you can set them up when it becomes vulnerable. If them properly, you can potentially get stunlocked to death. Other than that, it's all good. Lastly, in Chamber 3, I used Kazuha's elemental skill to bait the Ruin Hunter to reveal its weak spot, so I can shoot it down. Basically, if the Ruin Hunter detects that you're higher than jumping height, it will fly up and shoot rockets. Once the Ruin Hunter is down, 3 Ruin Sentinels will spawn from where the Ruin Hunter first spawned. I can't be bothered to remember their real names, so I'll just call them Crab, Octopus and Shooter. I would suggest focus your fire on the Shooter because the Crab and Octopus will come close to you, so they take collateral damage. In the second half, the first wave will be a Ruin Guard. Ruin Guards are an easy target, so I don't think I need to explain about how to defeat them. Once the Ruin Guard is defeated, there will be 3 Ruin Sentinels spawning in the 9, 12 and 3 o'clock of the arena. There will be an Octopus, 2 worms in the 12, 9 and 3 o'clock respectively. I've heard people telling me that only the worm at 3 o'clock will come to you to your location, but I couldn't confirm that. It's totally at random chances, so run towards to either of the worm and one of them will come to you. Beware of the tick damage caused by the worms, as they do a lot of damage. To avoid that, just run out of the circle and wait for a DPS window when you're safe from its facial, or just spam your elemental burst to item through all of them. Sometimes the worms will reveal its weak spot right after it digs up right in front of you. Just perform any attack that can paralyze it to stop it from attacking. The octopus doesn't pose much threat, so you can just unga bunga them.